everyone, my name is Sharna. You might know me from my Instagram account at Sweet Sharna. Welcome to my crochet along. So you may have seen my inspiration behind the Winterberries blanket. If you haven't seen it, pop on over to sirdar.com where you can watch the video. So now we're going to talk about the materials you need to make the blanket. You will need 10 balls of your Hayfield Soft Twist yarn. You will need a 4mm crochet hook to complete the blanket. You might want to use a 5mm crochet hook only for your starting chain. You will need some scissors to cut your yarn before joining your new balls. Stitch markers may come in handy so you can keep track of your stitches per row. So this week we're going to talk about the stitches we're going to make. So we are going to start here on this lovely row of double crochets all the way up to this row, these rows here in the beautiful claret colour. So this week I'm going to start you off gently. We're going to start off with some lovely double crochet stitches, and then we're going to ease into some triple crochet stitches here in the copper colour. And then we're going to learn our first stitch, which is the X stitch, which some of you might know as the crisscross stitch. I really love the texture of this stitch, especially in this olive green colour. And then we're going to be moving on to some of my favourite stitches, which are the bobble stitches. And you will be doing a lot of the bobble stitches throughout the whole entire blanket because they remind me of the berries, and the blanket is very much a berry theme. And we've also got some lovely little puff stitches. Again, they remind me of the berry stitches. So these are the main stitches you will be learning for week 1 of your crochet along. So in my how-to videos, I have made some little swatches to show you really clearly how to make the stitches. My swatches are only small, so I can show you really quickly how to do each row. Here I have some of the swatches. So we've got the X stitch here, we've got the bobble stitch moving into the puff stitch. Some of the swatches I've made are in different colours to the ones that you're going to be using on your blanket, but please remember to follow the pattern and use the right colours and the right stitches as you see it on the pattern. So don't worry, there's a lot of new stitches to learn this week. You'll get a lot of practice in because you're going to be making them throughout the entire blanket. And now I'm going to show you the how-tos. Let's begin. So we're going to start our blanket off with some nice easy stitches to ease you in gently. So we're going to start with the chain stitch and a double crochet in this lovely ivory colour, moving on to triple crochets in the beautiful copper colour. Okay, so here is the lovely ivory. Let's join our yarn to our hook. So I'm going to wrap it around my finger, create a little X, pull up a loop and insert my hook. I'm going to do 21 chain stitches just to show you how to create these stitches, but if you follow the pattern on the blanket, you're going to create 139 chain stitches, the last chain stitch being the turning chain. Okay, so yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through a loop. Now I'm creating my chain stitch very loosely using a 4mm crochet hook. You may want to go up a size to create your chain stitch so it's nice and loose when you start your first row of double crochet stitches. So I'm just going to count my stitches now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I have 21 chain stitches. Okay, now I'm going to go into the double crochet stitch. So I'm going to ignore that first stitch and work into the second stitch. And I'm going to yarn over, pull through, okay, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So I'm going to continue working double crochet stitches along this row. You may want to use stitch markers to help you keep count every 10 to 20 stitches to begin with. Also, I'm working double crochet stitches, which is US single crochet stitches. Then insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. There we go. So keep working this process until you reach the end of your row. So there we have one row of double crochet stitches. Okay, so now we are going to join our second colour, which is this beautiful copper colour. I'm going to find my end, which is here. So we are going to begin by inserting our 4mm hook into the loop. And we're going to wrap our yarn round your hook and pull up a loop. And when we start a triple crochet row, we will always begin with a chain 2. So 2 chains, 1, 2. Okay, this does not count as a stitch, it's just the beginning of your row. Now we're going to turn our work, so it should look like that. Now we're going to be working into this first stitch here. So we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into your first stitch. There we go. Then yarn over, pull through your loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Now we're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And that is your first triple crochet stitch. Now we're going to work into the next stitch, which will be here. So yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And now you should have 2 triple crochet stitches. Let's do that one more time. So yarn over, insert your hook into your stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Now you're going to work this stitch all the way to the end of your row. So feel free to pause your video at any time so you can work this stitch. So let's go over that one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook into your stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, pull through the last 2 loops, and continue working this to the end of your row. So there we have one row of triple crochet stitches, and make sure again to count your rows, maybe using your stitch markers. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and my last stitch, 20 triple crochets. Now we need to turn our work again, so we will again chain 2, which does not count as a stitch, and then you turn your work and then again we will insert our hook into the very beginning stitch of that row. Again, so insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 hoops. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And again, work this stitch all the way to the end of the row. So when you get to the end of this row, this will be your first 2 rows of triple crochet complete on your blanket, and then we can move on to the next stitch. So there is my 2 rows on my little swatch of triple crochet there. So now you can cut your yarn ready to join your next colour. Now we're going to add in our new stitch in this beautiful olive colour, and this stitch is called the X stitch. Some people may call it the crisscross stitch. I have a little sample here from earlier. I've actually worked 4 rows in the copper of triple crochet, but you only will work 2 rows. Okay, so let's begin. Here is my sample from earlier. Pick up. Okay, so insert your hook into your loop. Again, it is a triple stitch row, but working the X stitch. So we will begin the row with a chain 2, which does not count as a stitch. Then turn your work. We are going to begin in our first stitch here with 1 triple stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, pull through the last 2 loops. That's your first stitch done, which is 1 triple stitch. Now we're going to begin the X stitch. So here we are going to skip this stitch and we're going to work in the next stitch, which is here. So again, we're going to work a triple crochet but slightly differently. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, pull through the last 2 loops. Now we're going to work a triple crochet into the skip stitch. So yarn over, go back to the stitch that we skipped, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, you should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops, and that's your first X stitch made. Now we're going to do this again, so skip the next stitch, we're going to work into the stitch after that skip stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, pull through the last 2 loops. Now we're going to work into the stitch that you skipped. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. We're going to repeat that process again. So skip a stitch and then work in the next stitch. Yarn over, you can just see what I'm doing here, and then I'm going to work again into the skip stitch. And you can see that your crisscross stitches are forming there nicely. So follow this pattern to the end of your row. Feel free to pause the video at any time or rewind back to watch me do that again. Okay, so we are going to work 1 triple crochet stitch into your last stitch in your row. There we go. So now you have 1 complete row of X stitch. And now it's time to turn. So again, it's a triple row, so we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, which does not count as a stitch, and we're going to turn your work, and we're going to work into the very first stitch. We're going to begin the second row with a triple stitch. And now we're going to begin our X stitch again. So again, skip the next stitch and then insert your hook into the stitch after. Again, working the triple stitch. And now insert your hook into the skip stitch. Again, we're going to miss a stitch. Insert your hook into the next stitch. Still working the triple stitch every row. Insert your hook into the missed stitch. Continue this pattern until the end of the row. You can see these beautiful little X stitches forming. So I'm on my last X stitch of the row. And again, in your very last stitch, work 1 triple crochet. You will be working 4 rows. So here is one I made earlier. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of X stitch. Now we're going to move on to the bobble stitches, which is one of my favourite stitches. Okay, it's a great fun stitch. I'm showing it to you here in the damson colour. You will work a couple of rows in triple crochet in the damson colour before you will start your bobble stitch row. Later on in the blanket you'll be working bobble stitches in this gorgeous damson colour. So let's begin. So here is my sample from earlier. Okay, and we're going to work, your first few rows of bobble stitch will be in this lovely claret colour. Then, so let's join the new yarn. So insert your hook into your loop, yarn over. Okay, so this row of bobble stitches is actually a row of double crochet and bobble stitches, and because we're starting with double crochets we're going to chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch before we turn our work. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now it's really important on this row that you count your stitches for the bobble placements. So we are going to work into the very first stitch 1 double crochet, so insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, 1 double crochet. Now we are going to do 7 stitches in double crochet, this one the first. So 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you should have 7 double crochets. We're now going to begin our first bobble stitch, okay, into your 8th stitch. So it's going to be like working 5 triple crochet stitches into the same stitch. So if you just follow me, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and you are left with 2 loops on your hook. You want to work it slightly loose. Now instead of pulling up these 2 loops, we're going to yarn over again and insert our hook into the same stitch. Yarn over, and you should have 4 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2, and you should be left with 3 loops on your hook. Now we're going to repeat this again. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. You have got 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, and you're left with 4 loops on your hook. Let's repeat that one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and you're left with 5 loops on your hook. So yarn over, and now we're going to pull through all 5 of those loops. Okay, and the bobble stitches are always worked on the wrong side, so you've got that lovely little puff sticking out on the right side, which you can see there. Okay, so now you have finished your first bobble stitch. We're now going to do another 7 double crochets. So let's start. 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double crochets. Again, it's really important that you count your stitches on this row because you want your bobble stitch placements to be perfect. Okay, so let's start our second bobble stitch. Again, we're going to work into the next stitch. That's yarn over, insert your hook into your stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and you're left with 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, insert your hook into your stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops again, and you are left with 3 loops on your stitch. We'll keep repeating this until you are left with 5 loops on your stitch. There we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. And if you turn your work, you will see that you have 2 lovely bobble stitches. Now you are going to repeat this process until the end of the row. As this is just a swatch, I have only got 4 double crochets left at the end of my row, but you should be left with 6 double crochets at the end of your row. So when you get to the end of your row, we are now going to be working the next row in triple crochet. So we need to do a chain 2, which does not count as the first stitch, and then we're going to turn our work. And this next row is going to be 1 whole row of triple crochet. So again, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, pull through the last 2 loops, and continue working in triple crochet until you get to the end of the row, ready to start your next row of bobble crochet stitches. So don't forget to pause the video at any time and go back and look at the bobble stitch if you are still not sure. I've tried to match my nail varnish today. This is one of my favourite colours in the blanket. And the great thing about crochet is if you make a mistake and you have done your counting wrong, don't worry, because you can just pull back your yarn into right back to the beginning and just start again. So I've just shown you a little example of that, and I'm just starting again. So continue working your triple crochets until you get to the end of your triple crochet row. Okay, so I'm just on my last triple crochet stitch and I'm ready to turn my work. Okay, so we're now going to be working another row of bobble stitches, which means we're also going to be working double crochet stitches as well at the same time. So I'm going to chain one, which doesn't count as a stitch, and turn my work. Again, your bobble stitches, you work on the wrong side of your work on a bobble stitch row. So to make sure the bobble stitches are staggered, we're going to start with 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to start our first bobble stitch of this row. Again, we're working 5 triple crochets into 1 stitch. So that's yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up 2 loops. Leave those 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops again, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, 4 loops on your hook. One more time, yarn over, and we have 5 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 5. And there you have your first bobble stitch of that row. Now we're going to work 7 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we're going to begin our second bobble stitch. So again, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through 2 loops again, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert, 4 loops on your hook. Continue this until you're left with 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 5 loops, and that is your second bobble stitch complete. So between your bobble stitches you should have 7 double crochet stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my last stitch on my sample here is a bobble stitch, but it won't be on your row of bobble stitches. On your second row you should be left with 2 double crochets at the end of your row, but let me just show you one more time how to do the bobble stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Continue this until you are left with 5 loops on your hook, 5 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through, and there we have it. So in each of your bobble stitch rows you should have 17 bobble stitches on every bobble stitch row. Okay, so now we are moving on to puff stitch in this lovely scarlet colour. As you can see here, we've got a row of puff stitch and then we've got a row of triple stitch. So it's triple stitch. It's like a 2-row repeat. So we puff stitch, triple stitch, puff stitch row, triple stitch row, puff stitch, triple stitch row. Okay, so here's one that I made earlier, and now it's time to show you how to do the puff stitch. So I have here just added a triple row in the ivory because as you're following the blanket, you will see that's what you have done too. So let's join our new colour, which is this gorgeous scarlet colour. So puff stitch row is, we're going to begin it like a row of triple, so we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, which is not counted as a stitch, and then we're going to turn our work. So in the very first stitch, we're going to work 1 triple crochet, which hopefully you should know how to do now. And now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to miss the next stitch, and we're going to start a puff stitch in the following stitch. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through. You want to work this stitch quite loosely. Okay, so you should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. So you should now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over. And you're going to, so now we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through. Now you should have 9 loops on your hook. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you're going to yarn over and pull through all 9 loops. This can be a little bit fiddly, that's why I have said to try and work it loosely. And once you've finished your puff stitch, we're going to chain 1, and then you're going to miss the next stitch, and you're going to work a puff stitch in the following stitch the same way. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through a loop. So 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, insert your hook. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Keep following this process until you're left with 9 loops on your hook. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over. Now we have 9 loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yarn over and pull through all 9 loops. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to miss the next stitch and work a puff stitch in the following stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, and repeat the same process until you are left with 9 loops on your hook. Remember to work it loosely so it's easier to pull all of your stitches through. And once you finish, chain 1, skip a stitch, and then work a puff stitch into the following stitch. And continue this process until your very last puff stitch. If you get confused at all, feel free to pause the video or rewind the video back to the beginning of the row and watch me do the stitch again. So I think you're yarning over 4 times in total. Oops, sorry, I've made a mistake there. Now when you get to your very last puff stitch, you are not going to chain 1 on your very last puff stitch because you're left with 1 stitch at the end, you are just going to work 1 triple crochet into that last stitch. If I can get my hook through the loop, there we go. 1 triple crochet in that last stitch. And there you have it. You should have 1 completed row of puff stitches. And now we're going to work 1 row of triple crochet stitches. So again, chain 2, does not count as a stitch, and turn your work. Okay, so this is your first stitch, work 1 triple crochet stitch. And then work your next triple crochet stitch into the top of your puff stitch. And then your next triple crochet stitch into your chain 1, and repeat this process until the end of the row. Okay, so you should be coming to the end of your triple crochet row, ready to work your next row of puff stitches. You might also want to check your row count here as well. Okay, so okay, so now you should have finished your puff stitch row. So you should have 3 rows of puff stitches and 2 rows of triple. I hope you're finding those how-to videos easy to follow. It's really not as hard as it looks. I'm looking forward to seeing your Facebook pictures over on our make along group. Don't forget to share, and I'll see you next week.